Good evening, traders. How was your weekend? Hope your weekend went well. Welcome to another trading week. Um, let's continue as we always analyze the forex index, the strength for each of the currency pairs in the forex market. So let's start with the XY, which is the dollar index. What can we see so far? Now, looking at the monthly time frame, we can see that price has been coming down, and from here we broke to the upside going up. Then we had came down here, went up, but couldn't break this side. So we are still within this region. Now let's quickly go to the weekly time frame. Now, what can we see on the weekly time frame? Now you will notice that we are rejecting off this supply zone of this supply zone on the weekly time frame. You can see that we're rejecting of this supply zone for the weekly time frame. Price came down, went up, came down, but couldn't break this previous low. So went up, breaking to the previous side, and also tapping into this block here, which is also what we call supply zone. Now, if we go to the daily, now what can we see? Now, so far, you can see that this supply zone is still valid, and price have been able to tap into this place. Now, if you also look at price has been moving up. So there's every tendency that we will see price coming down at least to this demand zone or this supply zone. Sorry, this demand zone here too. It's possible. Or price can also tap into this place before moving to the upside. Now let's quickly check the 4-hour time frame. Now 4-hour, what can we see? Now we can see that price already coming down strongly. Now we can expect a reaction from this. Also, looking at the 4-hour, we may expect a reaction from this. Price taps into this place, moves up to break to this place, or price could just break through, move up, then continue to form. Now that's what we have for the XY. Now let's move to the next index, which is EXY, or the Euro index. Now let's quickly check the weekly. Now from the weekly, what can we see? Now we can see that the weekly has come to tap into this equal low that we have here and is rejecting likely off this particular zone here, which happens to be a gap. Now price went up, retraced, went up, and we can see that price has broken down so far on the weekly. Now on the daily, what can we see? Now you can see that price has been falling, falling. So what do we expect for the daily to? Now we may expect some deeper retracement before we move off this demand zone. So we may likely see something coming down here. Then before we can see a move to the upside. Now the move to the upside may break, it might not break, it might just reject off this block here. So this is very much possible. Now if we go to the 4-hour time frame, what can we see? Now we can still see that price is strongly rejecting. So that is a good one to also make our analysis true. So we may see a little bit of retracement before moving to the upside to tap into this block. Now let us move quickly to the pound index. Now what can we see on the pound index? Now from the pound index, we can see that price has moved to the upside. Price came down, went to the upside, breaking this previous structure that created this high. Now, if you go to the daily, what can we see? Now, you will notice so far that the daily has been falling, But looking at this particular region, we see a demand zone. Where price has been able to come to tap into, and we also see another one here, and we can also see another one here. Now it's expected that one of them would hold. I can't tell you which will hold, so you have to figure out that yourself. Now, if we go to the 4-hour time frame, now what can we see on the 4-hour time frame? Now, on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that price came down, went up, came down, broke this previous low, so came down. So we might see price moving to the upside before breaking to the downside, or we can see price going to the downside, breaking all this, then before moving to the upside. Before moving to the upside. So from any of these zones, we may see a move to the upside. Now let's go to the Swiss franc index. Now what can we see on the Swiss franc index? We went up, came down, went up, broke this previous structure, went up. So what do we expect? We expect to come down so that we can continue the continuation to the downside. Now if we look at the daily time frame, you can see that we came down, breaking the structure, went up, came down also, though we didn't break the structure conveniently. But at this point in time, we can see that there is a break, went up and came down. And then we will see that the last demand zone is this. So we may expect price to fall into this place before moving to the upside for Swiss franc. Now, if we move to the 4-hour time frame, what can we see? Now, we can see that price is already consolidating downward. So we add this up. Then we can have this before we have up. Or we can have something similar to this. Something breaking market structure, going up, then coming to break market structure. Now, these are all the possible scenarios that we can see for the Swiss franc. This is very much possible for the CHF. Now, for the JPY, what can we see? For the JPY, if we move to the weekly time frame, we will notice that price went up very far away, then came down, but was unable to break this particular zone. So price had tapped into it perfectly on the weekly. Now on the daily, what can we see? Now on the daily, we can see that price came down here, went up, breaking this structure. So we came down, came down, came down, and we continued downwards till we got to this place, breaking also another structure. Now we went up, came down, went up. We decided to break another structure here. Now we went up. After some consolidation, we came down. So it's expected that price is likely to get to this place before falling to the downside. But let's see what we have from the 4-hour time frame. Now, looking at the 4-hour time frame, the 4-hour time frame still is in confluence with daily, but we may see a little push to the downside before we move to this upside. So what do I mean by a little push to the downside? Now we may see some few rainfall. I mean to say few retracements to the downside before we move to the upside. So we may see a little retracement before we move to the upside, tapping into this supply zone here before we know what next price is going to do. Now let's check the CAD index. Let's quickly check the CAD index. Now from the perspective of the Canadian dollar, we can see that price is going up, but is gradually retracing. So what's my possible place of seeing my price retrace to? Hopefully this particular place. Now if we go to the daily, now we can see that daily came down, went up, came down, went up, came down, but was not able to break the structure. So we are expecting a break to the upside or a break to the lower side before we can know what next might fully happen. Now if we check closely into this particular index, which is the Canadian index, now you can see that we came down here, we went up. Now we are forming some little retracement to come downwards, but at the same time we got here and we started going upwards. So what do we expect? Now for this is a little bit tricky, so I'll be expecting that price would move to the upside, break structure, then continue to fall to the downside. Now that will help our higher time frame analysis so that we can come back to this demand zone. Now let us quickly check the odd, which is the Australian dollar. Now on the weekly, you will see that price has been trending up, but here there have been some variation. So there is a change here, went up again, came down, did not break, went up until it got to this place, breaking the previous structure. So where is the previous structure? We have supply zone, we have demand zone, I mean to say, at this particular point. So from here, we expect a movement to the upside for the odd. Now, at this place, we will see that there's a break in market structure. So if we tap into this particular demand zone, we expect a movement to the upside. Now, if we go to the 4-hour time frame, now same thing is bound to happen. We tap into this particular region, then we move to the upside. Now, it is also possible that supply will be expected here, so we can still melt to the downside, but these are possible scenarios that we can see in the market. Now, let us quickly check the New Zealand dollar index. Now, the New Zealand dollar index went up, came down, went up, came down. So, where is the particular demand zone we may see price fall to? This place will be good for price to fall to that place. Now, if you look at it carefully on the daily, we've broken structure here. So this is just a retracement on the daily before we move to the upside. Now, if we check the 4-hour time frame, now what can we see on the 4-hour time frame? The break of market structure still stands, and this is more like a push to the upside. But if we look closely, you will notice that we had a retracement here. We had a move to the upside that was not able to break this particular zone, so we fell from there. We fell from there, and we are likely going back to this particular zone, or we are going to the red box zone that we have down there. Now, these are all the pairs that we have for analysis today. If you enjoyed this analysis, kindly click on the like button, share with your friends so that they can be profitable and they can also learn as a result of my videos that are 100% free. Now, till we see you again, thank you very, very much, and make sure that you're consistent in trading. Thank you.